Well, we've reached episode 7. Only one more to go after this. I'm going to tell you there's about 3 minutes of worthwhile content in this episode, and it's towards the end. So you're going to have to watch probably the last 10 minutes of the show. Anyway, spoiler-filled recap and review to follow. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, hiss and foes, welcome to the Culture Casino!
In this episode, we start in Jakarta, where Mean Yakuza Boss is giving instructions for handling a case to one of his flunkies. What's in the case, you ask? We do not know. So, Mean Yakuza Boss then gets a call from the partially healed face of Diversity Dolores, and Diversity Dolores says that she knows what real Dolores' plan is, and that she's going to flip the script because she doesn't want to end up dead. And short of saying, "Surprise, Mother Falcon," she lets Mean Yakuza Boss know that she doesn't want to end up dead, so she's going to flip the script. And guess what? She's let Maeve know so that she can send a couple of people that Maeve brought back to take care of him. Turns out that Clementine is back, and it is out to eliminate the Mean Yakuza Boss version of Dolores, courtesy of Maeve. So Mean Yakuza Boss misidentifies Clementine, thinking that it is Maeve. And of course, you know how, misidentifying and misgendering and stuff like that really irritates robots. She's not having that. So Clementine starts handing out the punishment John Wick style. And the Mean Yakuza Boss's flunkies are the ones taking the brunt of it. He makes his way to escape, and then he uses the clever Transformer briefcase that turns into a rifle, an automatic rifle. Pretty cool looking. Of course, he starts to shoot up the place. Now, as a male version of a robot, his aim is awful, and he hits absolutely nothing. Save for the one unfortunate soul that gets hit by a bunch of JFK magic bullets that he wasn't even in front of the gun to receive. So, while that bothered me a lot, took me right out of the episode, it is what it is. So, as he's retreating, and the last of his men are being eliminated by Clementine, he turns to exit and finds that he has a belly full of samurai sword. Who stabbed him, you ask? It was Tattoo Face Lady, who tells the Yakuza boss that you desecrate a good man. I didn't know that was possible, since men are not good, apparently, according to all of these people's politics, but I digress. Then, in one swift motion, she gives him the Darth Maul treatment, and cuts her bad guy in twain. So it was a neat move, a neat, cross step. It was really cool. But at the same time, he's dead. So I should say, as Clementine dispatches the last of the flunkies, they walk out all, slow motion-y movie style, carrying the top half of the now dead Yakuza Boss version of Dolores. And now we go to our title credits. And again, this episode is featuring another female director, which is cool. Her name is Helen Shaver, I think. And the direction in this is okay. It seems like, okay. But if you're keeping score on the female directors that are represented in this series, so far we are 4 out of 7. I wonder if that's going to come out even or tip one way or the other. Let's see, 4 out of 7. Which way could it possibly tip? Anyway, I know that some people, they feel very strongly about quotas, and don't worry, you're getting them. Now, we rejoin the program with Caleb in the midst of an existential crisis as he relives the moments that impacted him in his life, with the flashbacks that they're using again, which is incredibly annoying because it's very poor storytelling, but obviously his psychological treatment or conditioning or programming or whatever you call it is leaving him with a lot of things going on. And since he's not using his medications and he turned off his drip, I would say he will be increasingly unstable. But we all anticipated that. So we flash away from those flashbacks so that we can see him and Dolores riding on some horses in what looks like WestWorld. It's not WestWorld, it's Sonora, Mexico. And we even get a couple of lens flares during the opening shots here, which is, very typical. They have a very flat discussion, not a lot going on there until it, turns towards the fact that Caleb understands that Dolores is actually responsible for what happened in WestWorld. Well, no kidding. She took a bunch of bullets for you in the previous episode, so maybe catch up to the program. Dolores wants a place for her people, and that's what she's telling Caleb. Caleb wants to know how many more people have to die in her revolution, and Dolores sidesteps that answer, of course, and reveals that she wants Caleb to lead the revolution. Of course, Caleb's like, yeah, no, not interested. So they ride on to recover something, and recovering something that apparently humanity lost. Okay, Dolores. Now we pop back to San Francisco. We see that Bernard and Stubbs are looking at some breadcrumbs that Dolores left behind in one of these facilities, or at least in this facility that's, I guess, in San Francisco, where William was being held and apparently reconditioned. In fact, while the conversation plays out with William, it seems that William's blood was the key to unlocking many things for Dolores, and that William is already dead according to the computer, all of which we probably would have suspected just if we're paying attention as good audience members. Now, we go back to another flashback of Caleb's during his life in the military, and they reveal that the medications and the things, the little wafers, are actually limbics, and they're part of a military conditioning program. Duh. His team was tasked to acquire or kill targets with space missiles, that's actually a cool scene. Caleb realizes that they're also trying to dispatch his team with the space missiles because they're being targeted, and he tries to save everyone, manages to save at least one of his team, and it ends up being just him and his friend now from the first episode and all of the flashbacks where his friend is dying. Later on, he and his friend actually capture a member of the insurgents, or the leader, they think, of the insurgents. And then another revelation is revealed. It is Caleb receiving the same guided AR therapy that William was being subjected to, only his own version. Again, no surprise. So, flashing back to Dolores and Caleb in their current time frame, and not in all these flashbacks of Caleb, because flashbacks are apparently very important to storytelling in this world. Don't know why, but we flash back to them, and of course they have located their target in the midst of the desert. It looks like a prison camp to me. Dolores has brought a self-targeting McManus that works in concert with a drone, whatever, a miniature drone, which goes around and targets all the human life in there. She gets rough intel information on what to expect inside, and the gun or Dolores, or a combination of both, very quickly eliminate everybody in this building with this really cool sniper rifle thing. And I'm calling it a McManus because it's fun, not necessarily because that may be true, but I just like that gun. Anyway, the place here is actually where Caleb was originally brainwashed, and it seems to be the place where similarly the French guy put his brother, the smarmy French guy that is running all this thing. I think Serac, but again, smarmy French guy. They now set out to find Solomon. Solomon is the very first version of the supercomputer that now pretty much predicts everything in the world. Now, of course, this supercomputer, because it was programmed by his brother originally, is insane. Schizophrenic, psychotic, whatever term you want to use. It's a nutty robot, so yay. And so the nutty robot computer talks to them at length, I guess, and talks about the subjects that really interest Dolores the most, which is, what they can do to start this revolution. She wants the psychotic computer to come up with a plan, and Caleb gets uncomfortable because he's again confronting his past. Only, I guess he finds out that only 1 in 10 of the personalities that they've designated as U personalities survive the reconditioning. So again, we flash to Bernard, Stubbs, and William, and the U personalities are the ones that are being missing or dead, and they're turned into hosts essentially through this reprogramming process. And after a bit of conversation amongst them, they find out what they're looking for, and it's Caleb. It's Caleb they're looking for. So now we're going to flash back again to Caleb and his friend after Caleb's reprogramming, taking that insurgent that they had captured or kidnapped to a warehouse where they were waiting for an extraction. And he was clearly being imprinted with memories of this event, as well as what might have actually been taking place at the time. And as we arrive back in real time again, because again, more flashbacks and flashing forward and flashing 2 times, flashing again, because again, frustrating storytelling, not good storytelling. So as we flash back to real time with Dolores and Caleb investigating a large room with the smarmy French guy who pops back up in a hologram form in order to welcome his brother back. The pre-recorded message reveals that it's basically just a welcome back to his psychotic brother. And the psychotic AI reveals that the contents of the new area of the warehouse with lots of treatment cells where you can actually see all of the bodies of maybe tens of thousands of people, like all Matrix style, like, Energizer batteries that they represented people as in the Matrix. Anyway, they... actually, those were Duracell. Anyway, that's not important, but regardless, all these people are essentially in, a state of slumber. And there's just tons of them there. And essentially, it is cold storage for humans, which is what Dolores makes an allusion to during the course of their conversation. And so the supercomputer talks about the outlier program, which is all these U personalities that was created to remove the U people from the system. And that Caleb finds out at this point that his reconditioning was designed to become a hunter of these U personality types so they could clear them out of the equation so that they could control the system more. And by doing that, they capture these humans, keep them, and then they obviously put them into this cold storage facility. So using the crime app was how they were able to mark these targets for Caleb and his partner, whom we find out survived the war and was his partner. So there you go. They regulate the app and the people with the drips and the limbics and everything else. And it seems like continual reprogramming. So, they flash back to this kidnap victim, and he exposes this program to Caleb, in that particular period of time, and gets him thinking and questioning. At the same time, his friend is there with him, telling him, "Don't let this guy talk." So we're gonna flash back again. So we're in real time now, and Maeve shows up outside of this facility that Dolores and Caleb have cleared out, and that's kind of a neat thing. It's like this armored drone, one of those electric drones, only it's all covered in armor. So that's really, really cool. And of course, Maeve can talk to, electronics, with her weird telepathy thing. So that's kind of fun. But anyway, so she shows up, and back inside, the AI is going to develop a plan for Dolores, while Dolores, obviously is going to head outside to face Maeve. And she basically says, I'm going to die. This person's going to kill me. And that, there you go. So Dolores monitors Maeve's arrival remotely, and Maeve uses her telepathy to ask her to step outside. They have kind of a telepathic conversation, as Dolores rearms herself for the confrontation. So we move along to... This leads to a droid attack that Maeve springs on Dolores from behind, one of those, multi-eyed robot things that we saw in the smarmy French guy's facility that was just maintaining stuff. And as Dolores makes her way through the kitchen on her way outside to face Maeve, Maeve sneak attacks her, ambushes her with a samurai sword. And of course the samurai sword is immediately taken out of play, and Maeve kicks her outside. And honestly, the best part of these episodes is towards the end, but this is part of the same fight scene where the two ladies are going at each other, and it looks really good. And about 80% of the work was done by the two ladies, but they did a nice job. It was really well done. Then we flash away to something interesting that's happening outside of the mental institution where Stubbs, Bernard, and William were. William gives a speech about his purpose, which now he believes his purpose is to rid the world of these hosts. So I'm not sure how that's an insight, since he's been ridding the world of hosts for a very long time, at least inside of WestWorld. Of course, they keep coming back, but I'm not sure how his purpose deviates much more other than eliminating them permanently. But anyway, Bernard and Stubbs kind of let him walk off, but of course Bernard says, we might need him. So my assumption is they're going to follow him, which they do. So we're going to flash back to the AI and Caleb inside the facility, having a conversation or a chat about his partner's fate. And it's revealed to him the events of what happened in the warehouse with the kidnap victim. Now, Caleb's friend leaves to do a round of surveillance around the outside of the warehouse, while the people that are there to pick them up have obviously not shown up in the time frame that they were supposed to. So the kidnap victim basically says, "Look, I'm going to give you a bunch of money if you free me. Just kill your partner and free me." And he then breaks down what actually is happening. And what happens to the kidnap victims. Then he realizes that it's actually probably too late, since his partner probably got the same message to eliminate the partner. So one of them is going to get a bonus offer, obviously, to kill the other. And then we have a flashback to Caleb in real time for some reason, to try to, confuse you, or create interest, or it's something. Anyway. And then we're going to flash back to Caleb's partner, who has just received something on the app that they use on their phones inside the warehouse in whatever time frame that is. And his friend says it's time to go. And they head out, and then they arrive at the vehicle. And as Caleb approaches the vehicle, he stops, and realizing his friend is betraying him, he asks how much. And of course, Caleb gets the message on his watch, and it's a picture of his friend with obviously kill bonus. And then he asks him again, how much? And his friend says, "I'm sorry." And then they both level their firearms at each other, and Caleb ends up shooting him first. So he shoots his friend. He kills his friend. So anyway, Caleb watches his friend die, which we've seen kind of flashes of before. So that's not new. But now he understands that he did kill his friend. The victim tells him he's a rich man, and Caleb, shoots him too, because, just good measure. So we flash back to Caleb, or flash to Caleb sitting over the ocean on his perch on that pier that we've seen several times throughout the episodes. And then we flash back to his reconditioning, where they're obviously getting rid of his friend at a different time frame so that he makes peace with that. And now we're going to flash back to real time, because we're just flashing all over the place. Caleb has a talk with the AI computer guy, which is the voice of smarmy French guy's brother. That's not pertinent to anything other than it's obviously his personality type, which is crazy. Because I guess crazy is a personality type. No, but unhinged is not a personality type. But psychotic is a state. That's what it is. It's a state. Anyway, so he's talking to AI computer guy, and he's not happy about being manipulated. Yeah, no kidding. And he's not happy that the AI was the reason that he was being manipulated in the first place. So he starts to walk away from the AI guy and says the AI guy says, wait, I actually, have the requested plan for a revolution, and then we're going to flash away because we can't tell a linear story. And as we flash away to Maeve and Dolores again, Dolores tries to ambush Maeve with her mini drone and her auto-firing McManus, which she's obviously put in a window prior to heading through that kitchen where she got ambushed. The scene is kind of the only real fun thing that we've had all year. So this is it, guys. It's still ruined by the drones not being able to target each other at the beginning of this, because that would have made too much sense with all those auto-targeting things and with Maeve's weird telepathy. But hey, finally Maeve gets the upper hand. This fight goes on for a while. It's really well choreographed, and when I say a while, I mean like less than 2 minutes. But that's like I said, the most action that we've had in this entire thing. So eventually Maeve gets the upper hand. She has her military drone blow the arm off of Dolores, which that's a neat special effect, and it took some CG artists a while to make that happen. So, but anyway, once that happens, then the little mini McManus starts auto-targeting the big drone, which isn't going to do much because that thing is a tank in the air, and the big drone starts to auto-fire on the little gun. So I'm sure that didn't end well for the little gun. Anyway, Dolores makes her way into a warehouse, followed by Maeve, who tells her that this will be her last death. Of course it will be. Then we cut back to Caleb asking the AI how this is all going to end. Then we cut back to Dolores crawling away from Maeve in the warehouse. And then we cut back to Caleb and the AI guy who says, your request is complete and to take the drive. So he takes one of those little thumb drives that has been very popular in the show this year, and obviously is headed out of the building to do whatever this is. And again, we go back to Maeve and Dolores, who punches the red engage button on this box that she's standing next to with her one good arm, just as the AI guy says, I must warn you. And he didn't get to finish the sentence because everything goes dark. And of course, I have to assume that the red button that Dolores just pushed was an EMP, and so it wiped out everything electronic, all at once. Because I don't think it was just the power button, because I don't think that's where you would put the power button, but that's just me. So everything goes down, including both Maeve and Dolores, and then we're going to flash back to William and Stubbs and Bernard, who are walking into an abandoned gas station. It appears like, and a charging station, because there's electric charging units there. And William says he has to go take a leak. And of course, one of the people that are lying dead outside of this gas station, because this abandoned gas station obviously had a lot of violence at it, because, the world's falling apart. He collects a gun from somebody who was obviously looting the store. So Stubbs and Bernard talk about Caleb and his outlier status, because they know what we know, which is Caleb was part of the outlier program. And Bernard reveals that Dolores' plan is obviously Caleb, and that Dolores is going to use her poetic justice to have Caleb actually end the human race. So behind them, they hear William cocking a shotgun and says, "You should have killed me." And they probably should have, but whatever. So we're going to flash back to Caleb leaving the warehouse and discovering that Dolores is down on the ground with a disembodied voice somewhere saying, "I have instructions for you." And that's it. That's where we leave the episode. And honestly, that's a good thing. Because to be fair, it wasn't a very good episode again. And I'm other than the 3 minutes of action in total that there was in this, and some minor story points, it's still very boring. So again, this falls to about a 1.5 on the 1 through 5 scale that I rate everything on. The direction was not bad. It's some of the more intricate scenes in the cinematography and the things that Helen Shaver put in here. They were great, but with all of this flashing around storytelling, there's no weight on any scene except for obviously these action segments. So it's just odd. But anyway, feel free to tell me what you think in the comments below. As I said, 1.5 out of 5. Relatively boring throughout, and disappointing. I feel bad for everybody that I ever recommended this show to after season 1. So I feel terrible. On that note, please take care of yourself, take care of others, stay healthy, stay safe, wash your hands. I say that every video now. And until easy for me to say. And until next time, bye. Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.